Good morning, everybody. Hope you are doing great today. I'll give people about 1 minute to catch up with us before we get started this morning. Good morning, worship, all the way from Uganda. Nice to see you. This morning, I wanted to talk a little bit about hummingbirds. I was literally thinking and praying about what are we going to talk about this morning, and they kept coming into my mind and into my yard, and so I just wanted to talk about them for just a minute. So a couple of things that people don't know about hummingbirds. Super high metabolism. They literally have to eat every 15 to 20 minutes during the daytime or they die. They visit more than 1,000 flowers a day. They eat half their body weight in nectar and bugs every day. So for me, that would be quite a bit every day. Think about that for you. How much would you have to eat to do half of your body weight every single day? Man. So hummingbirds, unbelievable appetite, constant need. I think that the human soul is very similar to that. And sometimes we don't even think about it, we don't even realize it, but our souls are constantly in need and constantly hungry for something. And I believe we're created with a hunger for God, a hunger for the eternal. And so as I was thinking about hummingbirds, sometimes people feed them the wrong thing. So there are people that, to look out for their hummingbirds, they give them artificial sweetener, which kills them, or food coloring, which kills them. So the best thing for a hummingbird is literally sugar and water, or something, some kind of fruit or nectar that you can give them that's just pure. And I think with us, the same thing is true with our souls. Sometimes we try to feed them the wrong thing, and it can be really dangerous. Sometimes we feed our souls on social media or news or other people's opinions. I was listening to Francis Chan last night, and somebody said, "Hey, why don't you spend time on the internet or on social media?" And he said two things. It was fascinating. He said, "Sometimes people build me up, and I don't want my pride to get up here. And sometimes people tear me down, and I don't want to be angry or bitter and be stuck down here." People's opinions of us can have a huge impact. So we can't feed on the wrong stuff. So what does it mean to feed on the right stuff? Two ideas for you. One is God's word. And I had a funny phrase in my mind this morning. It's not just for breakfast anymore. So that was an orange juice commercial a little while ago. And there are I've fallen into this trap of I read a few verses in the morning and then I'm done until tomorrow. That's not what God's word talks about it. We need to be chewing on it, ruminating on it, meditating on the truth of what he's bringing to us through his word all day long. And then the other thing is just spending time with him. If I'm reading and learning and studying, and if I'm spending time with him regularly, that's feeding my soul with the stuff that will actually work, that will actually fill me and not leave me empty. And so Matthew 4, Jesus said, man won't live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. That's interesting. So it's spiritual food. And God's word is described as milk. It's described as meat. It's described as bread. And it's also, this is interesting, in Psalms it says that it's sweeter than honey. So all these metaphors of food, it's not for our bodies, it's for our souls. And then the other one that's interesting is Jeremiah in chapter 15. He said, "When God's words came, I ate them, and they were my joy and my delight." I think that's just a great picture that he's actually ingesting God's words. And then the other thing that I have found is super helpful to me is spending time with him. And 1 Thessalonians has a couple really short verses, but they're really powerful. Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances. And I love that one in the middle, pray always, is one of the translations. So for me, that means Every morning I'm starting reading God's word, listening to him, spending some time praying. And for me, it means I'm listening all day long, not just when I need help, but all the time, just recognizing his presence with me. Brother Lawrence, in the Middle Ages, he called himself the minister of pots and pans. And he always pictured himself, because he worked in the kitchen in a monastery, he always pictured the kitchen as God's throne room. And he's like, he's always right there. I'm cooking right next to him. I'm singing, I'm talking, I'm in conversation with God all the time. We can do that anywhere. And if you're driving, I would encourage you to not close your eyes while you pray. But we can do that anytime, anywhere. He is always available to us. The question is, are we available to him? So, and at least once a week, I try to get a hike or a bike ride or sometime where at least an hour I'm out just praying and listening. And then every so often, I would encourage you, take a whole day and just be alone and try to get some time with God and just allow him to fill up your soul, especially if things are hard, especially if things are busy, especially if things are crazy. Somebody once said, I'm too busy not to pray. That's a great reminder, because sometimes as needed, man, our souls get so hungry and we're just starving for any input. We got to go to the input that actually matters, the food that will actually fill our souls. So I wanted to leave you with this one last verse, and it's Jesus from the Sermon on the Mount. And he said, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. And literally the word is satisfied. So do you feel like you're unsatisfied? Do you feel like your soul is striving and stretching and reaching out for something and you can't find it? So look after God and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added to you, all the other stuff. It doesn't mean that you're going to win the lottery. It does mean that you're going to win the soul lottery, where he's going to fill your soul and keep your soul filled. Hope this has been helpful, and I hope you saw a few hummingbirds in the background. And and let me leave you with this. So 1 part sugar, 4 parts water, heat it up a little bit, put it in the hummingbird feeder, you're good to go. God bless you, everybody. We'll see you soon.